hocus pocus, it's real detail. Meditate, elevate, clear the stress. Real talk, no fluff up in this quest. Reiki and shit when the spirit gets real. Tune in, vibe out, truth you can feel. Break down the whoop with humor and wisdom. Ain't nothing fake, we dish out the system. Crystal in hand, but we don't play nice. Spirit.
Welcome to another exciting episode. I'm Joe.
I'm Mikkel.
And we're a little sassy today. Because
Not
of
a little, we're a lot.
Because of the moon. It's a different topic.
You know what? It's the Aries full moon for anybody who's paying attention. So the energy is lit.
Yeah, so
Can you still say that?
I don't know anymore.
Or are you getting to that age where you just don't know?
I get told I say the wrong things, and so I just don't know. I'm officially old. So
I've been here for a while.
Cool.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
We just don't give a shit over here.
No, we don't.
All right.
But I guess, you know what? We got told by our producer that sometimes we're not personable we don't talk about our prior, how our week went.
You know what's funny is like, we didn't get told that. You got told that. Oh, I'm just kidding. I actually remember you saying that. We got told by our producer that we're not including enough of our personal lives into this.
I know.
Is that what you mean?
That's what I mean.
All right, I'll pull back the sass like a little bit.
No, we like the
like
sass.
a little bit. Do you?
I'm
Great.
just gonna throw
turn
it back.
On. All right.
So,
okay.
Give us a recap. How was It's been. No, I saw you last week. Yeah.
Yeah. How was my week?
How was your week? Give us the deets.
Oh well, I don't know if anybody knows, but like everything's falling apart.
That's relative.
And that's a good thing. Right? And by everything, I just mean like, we're like, whoa, politics, whoa, financial situation, all of it. And so we're also doing that all internally, right? Are you doing this? I mean, I'm doing this. I'm in it. I'm asking for change. I'm asking for something different. And so when you ask for something, it generally comes, right? And so I got served up several lessons this last week, most of them to do with, do I actually want what I say I want?
Oh. Interesting.
Yeah. Which is like, well, I want to have healthy relationships. Do you know how to have hard conversations? Which the answer is yes, because I teach people how to have hard conversations. But does my system under survival mode know how to have hard conversations? We found out.
Okay.
And we kind of do, right? And so you and I have talked about this a lot. And so we'll tell the people, everybody has cycles in their lives, right? So if you are a person with a uterus, you have your menstrual cycle, right? If you're a person without a uterus, you also have emotional cycles. And then you have your life and death cycle while you're still alive, right? And this is the cycle that we don't like because we love it when we're like at the top.
Yeah.
And everything is awesome, right? When you start to have to change and you go into that darkness, just like the seasons, right? It's like when you're in summer, we're all like, right?
Yep.
I just did a celebratory gesture for those of you just listening. And then fall, we're like, we love fall, it's crisp. But then we're like, shit, it's winter.
Winter is coming.
Winter is coming. But that's happening all the time. And when we allow the death to happen, then we get to be reborn with the transformation that we actually asked for, right? And so whenever you're feeling this, it can feel like depression. And always the caveat of there's actual clinical depression, right? But like on those times you're like, I was fine last week. What's wrong? When you allow that though, you pop out the other side. So last week was rough for all of those reasons. And now I'm on the other side and we're still sassy, but that's actually a good thing. Right. And so to be a little bit more clear, like I'm a recovering people pleaser, used to be a gold medalist. Right?
Ooh, 3-time defending.
No, we're talking like 15 consecutive. All right.
Move over Michael Phelps.
One of the world's best, okay, was nothing but calm or funny. That's it, right?
Okay.
And so my fuse is way too long. So when things actually happen that required my discernment to go, that actually wasn't okay with me. In that tone, I'm not saying to cut a bitch, even though like we get there.
We all do.
It's like, hey, you hurt my feelings a week ago. I want to talk about it now.
Okay.
But now, because I've been doing the work, it's starting to line up and it's happening in real time. And that's so much for my system because I've never had it before because I never let anybody know when I wasn't okay. Right? It's very interesting. And the best part is the response. They actually care. I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
It's wild. So was that what we wanted?
So your
That's
week,
how my week
yeah,
actually was.
There you go.
Right? And there's a
That's,
lot being put in front of me. It's like, do you want all these things? All the things that I want? Here's what the actions you're going to have to take to get them.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all terrifying, meaning I have to be seen more in every regard. Career, personal life, all of it. What have I been doing? Hiding.
Yeah.
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 Right? Do you want the things you say you want? What are you willing to do? And that this looks like showing up in action and the discipline that is not driven from fear, scarcity, and shame.
Yeah.
And not driven from a place where I'm doing this so that other people will think I'm awesome. It's like, what do I actually want? Stay tuned. So
Yeah.
it's been rough.
So fantastic week.
But kind of. Now, like you're catching me on the other side, so I'm like, this is great.
The other side of it. During
on
it,
Sunday. Whoa.
not so much.
No.
Yeah.
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 So how was your week?
My week, there's little similarities. I don't think it was the same extent as yours, but the thing that you said towards the end, it kind of was like, oh, yeah, there's that. It was very much one of those weeks where you ask for things, and then when you don't get it, you're kind of like, what the hell? And then you go, oh, I didn't do anything to help that. It's like, I want muscles. Did you go to the gym? Did you eat good? No. Well,
It's sort of how that works.
So yeah, there was a fair amount of that. Overall, it was just a week that, like, yeah, there was some days that felt great. Other days it was like, yep, this is just miserable and not fun.
What'd you learn?
I learned that, there's part of it that was like, you got to put the action if you actually want results. Weird concept, and still annoying because you don't you want that, but you don't. Because it's a battle.
Let's pause right there because we're both in the same boat, and I know a lot of people are too. What's the reason we don't take the action? Because what we do is we beat ourselves up, and we're like, well, we're lazy and we don't want it enough.
I think it depends on the person. Like for me, it's all at least with one of the things that I was, kind of getting my own thing started, and all of that. Reason I haven't acted, I guess, in a sense, is it probably the root comes back to more of like a fear.
There you go. Exactly. You're afraid of what the action might get you. If it's something you really want and you take the action and then it doesn't happen, we're like, we can't handle that. Mm-hmm. That means we're actually not worthy, when that's not what it means at all. It either means that wasn't the correct action, or that's going to build over time, or it's like, is that actually where you want it to go? Right? And so my favorite thing to do is you got to fuck around and find out, but we're all like, we don't have any time left, myself included. Mm-hmm. And so we're doing these things where like, but can I just have it? Because I have to have it because it's my only source of worth.
Yeah, it's fun. So yeah, it was, I think that's the thing that's interesting is like the more I work on different aspects of myself, it was very much a blanket statement. People ask you, like, how was your week? Oh, it was good. Like, yeah, there's some weeks it was like, on vacation, it was awesome. But now I just find myself going like,
how was it?
How was it?
No, we had a conversation like that.
Yeah.
Like, how are you? You're like, I don't
I
don't know.
There was like good moments, but then you're all of a sudden now like thinking about all the like, not good, but like
But I'm going to say to the people what I said to you in that conversation, which was,
cut a bitch.
always cut a bitch. But it's like, you're actually thinking about how your week was. We've been so conditioned to be like, I'm good, I'm fine. And look, that's appropriate in a lot of different places because not everybody deserves your vulnerability. And also, it's like, do you have the energy to do that? So you can do that, but we were doing it with ourselves. No, you're fine, I'm fine. When really it's like, I should, you know what? I haven't taken a second to take stock of my week. And like, to bring this home to like the moon, okay? And I'm not gonna let this one go. So it's the full moon in Aries right now. And I was the biggest skeptic of astrology probably that there ever was. I don't know. Maybe dudes hold this. I'm not sure. But I can't argue with the astrology. And here's what's true. There's every moment of every day, you have the opportunity to change your life. If you would like to head in a different direction, go ahead. It's always available to you. However, the astrology or the energy and the way that things are, it's giving you an opportunity to like ride the wave in, right? So you don't have to work quite as hard. And so like this particular one is like, where were you 6 months ago? What was happening for you? And would you like to learn that complete lesson that you have been integrating since then? And that this moon is ready to like set all of that old stuff on fire that doesn't serve you so you can have something new and really make a huge shift in the next 6 months. So, and full moons always illuminate everything, right? So it's showing everything that we couldn't see before. That's the symbolism of it. So we can get a little fiery. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Right? But we're all out here like, no, everyone's just got to be chill. Because we don't actually know how to communicate with each other in a way that doesn't make us, the other person, feel defensive.
Yeah.
Right? Because we're all of our dysregulated nervous systems are, you know.
Yeah. It's a fun time.
Fucking it up with each other.
Yeah. So it's I mean, I think a lot of that is, like I said, it's really good to like, as you learn this and you realize that, like I said, almost how you were talking about being able to have these conversations with people in the moment instead of the people pleasing and all of that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that it's perfect for what we were going to talk about today, because we are getting ready to go into
the
holiday season. Ooh. And let's be honest, everyone's had holidays. I think that anyone to the holidays aren't chaotic or stressful in some sort of the way, I think is lying, especially if you've ever been in a relationship during the holidays.
Oh.
It's a completely different thing. I mean, oh my gosh, the holidays. And it's like, how do you survive the holidays with your family, or even just surviving the holidays in general? Maybe you are, single, you don't have family. Like, that's still a whole thing.
It is.
It's, I mean, let's be honest. We've all been there where you're sitting at the table and you got Aunt Linda just grilling you about your love life and what are you doing for work? Why don't you have a job? What are you doing here? And you just want to go.
You want to cut a bitch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or throw the turkey at her if it's Thanksgiving.
That is my Thanksgiving experiences.
Yeah. We'll dive into those, because you got some wild ones. So it's, like I said, it's, diving into like, how do we survive that? I mean, I guess first off is, why do you think the holidays are stressful for people in general?
Ooh, I'm so glad you asked. Yes. Okay. So Ram Dass, if you're not familiar, right? He said, if you think you're enlightened, go spend a week with your family.
Yeah.
And I love it so much.
I don't know. I might think I'm actually more enlightened after doing that, or realizing I am the smartest in my family.
We'll talk about that later. But we're triggered by our family of origin because we naturally go back into that state that we were. And because your family it's not on purpose either. They're not trying to keep you in a box, right? Except for that's who you are to them. And they know everything about you. And like sibling wise, you like only got to a certain age with them.
Yeah.
Right? And they're not seeing you develop anymore. And so the minute you do anything, they're like, I know who you are. And they actually don't give you the ability to have changed or transformed. And we do the same thing, right? It's like the minute Aunt Linda starts, it's like, oh, okay, here we go. And so all of those things are triggered. They're actually supposed to be. And so, like, for example, if everybody were understanding of their emotions, right? Because, like, what I mean is a regulated nervous system, but the internet has now made a regulated nervous system tantamount to perfect. Like, oh, this is the vibe, this is it. And it's like your nervous system is not actually supposed to be perfectly regulated all the time. That's not its purpose.
Yeah.
It's actually supposed to go out into dysregulation, into your survival brain when you actually need it. The problem is our survival network goes when Aunt Linda's like, are you dating anyone? And we're like, fuck, you know what?
But I guess a question of that is, so does the pressure, if you in quotations, come from our family, or is it coming from the voice inside of our head?
Ooh. No, it's coming from you. So any emotion that you feel is coming from within you, because if you didn't have a pain around it, it doesn't matter what Aunt Linda says. It wouldn't register. you'd be like, what? What are you even talking about? Like, it wouldn't even, but the pain is within you. That's why the trigger is the gift. Now, it doesn't mean that it's okay if someone's disrespecting you, right? That's where the boundary comes in. But know that it's coming out of you. You have a pain about it. That's why it's hitting, right?
Yeah.
Because otherwise it would just be this very like kind of non-emotional, like, oh, they're being disrespectful. We'll see you later. Like, there's no need. But because it brings something out in you, then you're like, I'm ready to go. Let's throw hands.
Yeah.
But that's why.
Yeah. And I guess an interesting thing that, you saying that kind of makes me think, because it seems like all the chaos ensues, like I said, as soon as it is the holidays and you are with family. Or if you're randomly at a birthday party, it seems kind of be a little bit more mild for the most part, but like holidays and family. So it seems like the family gatherings bring out this wild side, and all of a sudden it's like, Uncle John looks like he's, applying to be on the next like Mormon Housewives of Salt Lake or whatever things he's
House
saying.
husbands? Can we get that?
House
Can we throw
husbands.
that out
We
into the
can.
universe? Okay.
But I guess it makes sense that kind of why it seems to be when you get around family, everything gets triggered, is because your family is also the one that knows you the most.
Yes.
And so they're the ones who, like I said, Aunt Linda may be well-intentioned asking you about your love life or work.
Right.
But
Aunt Linda also isn't minding her business, and she doesn't know how to read a room, right? And so it's like she's not even picking up on the cues that like maybe that's none of her business and maybe you don't want to talk about it, right? And then the other part is like, think about in your family all the things that haven't been that were left unsaid, all the pains, and like even just in your sibling relationship, all the times your feelings got hurt by your siblings when you were younger and felt powerless. You go back into that as an adult and it's like, oh yeah? And your uncle, who you thought was like, we all got raised where it's like, you got to listen to your uncle or listen to your, no, like you got to be respectful to them. And then as you get older, like, I don't think they were deserving of that.
yeah.
And so then you're trying to throw your weight around. They're still trying to throw their weight around. And everybody's trying to say I matter.
Yeah.
Right? And then when it's the holidays especially, there is so much nostalgia. Okay? And so like there's also nostalgia that never happened. So I want you guys to think about like the Norman Rockwell Christmas. Now, some of our listeners might be too young for that, but it's like, it's this curated Christmas where everybody was happy and the dinner is happy and everything is perfect.
I don't know if I've ever had a holiday like that.
That never happened. And look, I actually know there are families who like get together and they don't throw a turkey at each other. Wild, I know. And there isn't like that like TV version of it, but the reason it's on TV and the reason so many people identify with it, or not identify, but like resonate with it, is because that happened in some form or another. So it does exist where some families can get together and it's actually okay. I would love for them to comment on this and let us know so we can study them, but you get it, right? And so we're trying to recreate, it's nostalgia for something that never happened. And it's like, for example, my grandparents, they could not bear the pain of how awful each holiday was because someone would get in a terrible fight, and I mean terrible. They like romanticized it and created a reality that didn't happen. And so then they had this standard of like, it's got to be perfect because that was always that way. And things have changed. No, they haven't. Right? So we're expecting perfection when instead, if we could let ourselves show up as we are, if we could learn that it's okay that all of us are growing and changing and there's some shit, the emotional baggage, we could probably get through the holidays, right? But then there are also markers, right? So Christmases are big deals in our brain. And so it's like, when you're going into it, right, you're like, oh, another year has gone by. And what we immediately do is, what have I not done? What have I not accomplished? And that's where a lot of the depression comes from. Because it's like, no, by next year I was going to be this, right? And so you're disappointed in yourself. Then you go home to your family and they point out all the ways that you're disappointing. It's a perfect mix. And then once again, with the nostalgia, it's like Christmas, you are supposed to be with people. Thanksgiving, you're supposed to be with people. So if you're single and you don't have family, you're doing something wrong. I'm not saying you are, I'm saying that's the feeling.
Yeah.
And humans' needs go like this: air, water, food, belonging. When you are alone, it's so much.
Yeah.
And then there's the expectation that you should be with people. So there's a lot. Like, this is why the holidays are so difficult.
Yeah. Like you said, it's, the holidays, it's almost more. Sometimes I walk in and I just go, like Thanksgiving, it's supposed to be about gratitude and all those things. I more walk and go, who's going to snap first? Let's see
Oh yeah.
where this is going to happen. And I'm definitely guilty of probably causing some of those snaps.
What?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. It's, we'll get to that one. But so, I mean, a big thing, I guess, like I said, this is something that from my experience, like when I was married, there was not a single holiday my ex-wife did not start bawling. And around planning and all of those fun things, like I said, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
sure
like
do.
whose family we're going to win and all of those. And I don't miss that at all. But this kind of leads me into, I guess, one of the things that I know I wish I thought about more when I was married, but like setting boundaries with families
Oh goodness,
in the
that's
holidays.
so early. Yeah.
Like, I mean, boundaries in general really here, like, why is it so damn hard for people to set boundaries with their family? Like, because like I said, families start meddling in your business, like you mentioned. So why is it so hard for them to set boundaries?
There's a few reasons, but let's hit the one that really matters the most, which is we actually want to be with our family, right? And whether or not you're like, no, the fuck I don't, because they're awful. There's a part of you that does, though, because our family was supposed to be that safe place, right? So there is that. There's that. It's like, I do actually want to be with these people, but you are, especially as an adult, you're like, I also have needs. And I don't want to disappoint, but then I don't want to disappoint myself. And you're just like, it's awful, right? So there's that one, because they actually want it to be like, can't we all just get together? But then I also need alone time. Then the other boundary is like, we were not raised, and so like it'll be very interesting in the next 20 years because the kids are coming up now, they're being raised with boundaries. It's nuts. But for now, we're like, oh, we're going to disappoint them. So our own system's like, I can't do this, right? It all comes down to disappointment of self and disappointment of the family member. I said there's 2 reasons, 3. I lied. Let's not go off my counting. We're going to go off a few. So the other part is we're gathering at a time when we are by nature wanting to be alone. Okay. Winter is a time to rest. That's why when it's dark, our ancestors went to bed when the sun went to bed. That's like 5 p.m. Okay. There wasn't anything to do. You had to just go to bed and then you got up with the sun. So we're like trying to gather and we're at a time when like the holidays kick up, like when's Thanksgiving? The 3rd week of November?
Something like that.
So the 3rd week of November until winter solstice, which is right before Christmas, that is actually the time when we're supposed to be going more inward and resting more. Okay. And people like to pretend that we are not of this earth, like the nature doesn't affect us. It absolutely does. And so we're actually going out to all these parties when that's not what our rhythm is doing. So we've got that. So that's like one component of it. And then it's like with the parents, okay? We don't understand because our parents raised us the same way that their parents raised them. We are an extension of the parent, not an autonomous self, right? And so like if your children don't want to come home for Christmas, you did something wrong, right? Mm-hmm. Because and this is very much a mother thing. Mothers were asked to never have a life of their own, right? That's very new in history. That we can like work, that I can do this and I'm also a mother, right? It seems commonplace, but if we're talking about the span of human history, it's like super, super new. So the children are the mother has extended her being into them. They are who she is. So if they're not coming back, it's the worst possible thing they could do because it means she was terrible, which means her whole reason for being no longer has meaning. Now, because of that same thing, children generally don't properly separate from their parents. Separation is important, but we didn't do that. It's enmeshment is what it is. Mm-hmm. And so the boundary setting is weird because like we have a hard time setting boundaries with ourselves, right? Because like you were saying earlier, it's like, did I take the action to do the thing I wanted? That's actually a boundary, right? Like, am I going to hold that boundary because this is what I expect of myself? Mm-hmm. You can't hold a boundary when you're like, with a person that you're still connected to in that way.
Yeah.
Right. But for the children to have their own sovereignty, to be their own person, they instinctively know what that will do to the parents. And they're like, I don't want, when really the truth sets us free. Right.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to see that more and more, thank goodness, as this shift. And it's so hard for our parents. Right. I'm not discounting that, but it's so important because you can actually create a loving relationship off of that. You can't off of something that's false. You can off the truth.
Yeah. So, to help people out, how can you set boundaries that don't make it come across or feel like you're about to start World War III?
That you have no control over that.
Yeah. There's definitely a way of wording it though. Because
Absolutely.
you set boundaries and
Okay.
I've seen people set boundaries that are, we'll say it's a healthy way of setting it. Then I've had people set boundaries where they think they are doing, good by setting boundaries. I'm like, yes, but I'm like, how you did that?
Okay, give me an example of that one.
So if you were to, let's just say, like I said, maybe your mom wants you to come home for Christmas or whatever, and you decided, hey, I'm not going to come home.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever reason, married, single, whatever. Instead of just, when they send out that group text family saying, hey, like, we're going to get together. So be like, hey, I'm not going to be there. I'm, whatever. You end up having a phone call with you like, I am not going to be there. I can't do it. I need like you just kind of go off.
That's not a boundary.
But you're saying I'm not going to be there because I need space. But if you're going at it very aggressively, like I said, all of a sudden
First of all, when you're learning to set boundaries, they're going to come out wrong. Right? And look, I think I know what you're talking about. I'm like willing my brain to pull up an example, but it's like something like that's a boundary I have. It's like, no, you're just being a bitch. Right?
I know, for example, I've tried to do boundaries in the past with my own mom, but how I've said it, I've also added in a few snarky remarks that did not need to be there.
So this is where, and we've discussed this before, the fuck you letters can come in because you need to understand why you're setting the boundary in the first place. Because know that you're outside of your window of tolerance with it. So you're already to the fuck you stage anyway. Because like, do you not know how long it took me to say this? No, they don't know how long. And so that's where the radical accountability comes in, where you're like, how could they know if I didn't tell them? And the little kid in you is going, they should know. The little kid is right. It doesn't change what's actually happened, right? We're not in right relationship with each other. And so your boundaries at first are going to come out wrong. But if you're wanting to do it right, you got to meet the anger of why you're setting the boundary in the first place. Because remember, boundaries are there to continue the relationship, not break it apart. Okay? And so when you do that though, the other person is going to feel a way about it. That's not your responsibility. What is your responsibility is to deal with the emotion that's causing you to put up the boundary in the first place. So like, for example, you're like, I need a minute, mom. I need a minute, like in your marriage, like, I just need to like figure this out. Can you give me a second? And now that you're single, you're like, I might not want to come to Thanksgiving because I don't want to. Has nothing to do with how much I love you. I'm just taking care of me, right? Knowing full well that she can't understand that. So there's a reason though that you don't want to go home, right? Mm-hmm. And that it can have to do with some of the things that she did or didn't do for you as your mother. So you need to look at that. What is it? What am I angry about? What didn't happen? You meet that in yourself. If you're angry, write it out, right? Write it out and burn it and keep doing that till you feel that anger start to dissipate. And then you could, as a boundary, write a carefully worded email that you're going to send after the text, right? It's like, hey, I know that this is painful for you. That's not my intention, but you might feel that way. This is what I need. And be honest. I'm not sure why I need it. That's it. And all you can do is tell the truth. But the snarkiness comes out because you haven't met any of the emotion behind it, right?
Yeah.
And that's why that's there, because what we actually want is for people to see how hurt we are by whatever it is, or that we're just hurt because we're dealing with life. But most of the time people are like, I can't handle your hurt. You're totally fine, right? Everything's fine, but you're going to be okay, right? You're going to find a job. Don't worry about it. And you're like, can I not just be worried? Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So this boundary setting, if you're going to do it wrong, right? It's not taking accountability for your own emotions. even if it's caused from childhood. Now that you're a grown up, guess what? It's your responsibility. Doesn't mean we don't validate what happened, though.
Yeah.
Did I answer the question?
Yeah. I guess, and then I'd be curious, what do you think, or what do you hear are kind of the most common, like, holiday boundaries that people struggle with? Because, like I said, even hearing all that, like I said, people are still going to struggle
They are.
setting a boundaries. But, like, I guess, is there anything common here? Like, for me, I know it almost seems like a lot of the time when I don't want to or didn't want to go to, like, a family gathering in the holidays, it didn't necessarily have anything to do with, like, oh, Aunt Linda. It was like, I just don't want to deal with any of you guys or any of the stuff that's going on.
Okay,
It's
great.
like,
But why? Why do you have to deal with them if all you need to do is be around them?
being around them is dealing with them.
Why?
Just, you want to, for me, it's like, I just want to be more in a cave. I don't want to, like, interact with people, like, so regardless if it's
Because you're taking on the responsibility that you've got to, like, handle them. You've got to make them feel better. You actually don't. And so, like, for example, and the Thanksgiving is more the traditional, like, politics. Did you know that if your Trump-loving uncle or your Biden-loving uncle starts to go off, that you could go, that's interesting, and go back to your food?
Yeah.
But we get triggered and we have to defend what we think is truth. The truth needs no defense. And here's the other piece of this. And with families in politics, if you actually want to change someone's mind, listen to them.
Yeah.
And don't give your point of view, and actually listen. And then say, thank you for telling me how you feel. They'll confuse the shit out of them. They want a fight. They're trying to prove that they're right.
Yeah.
And so you actually don't have to deal with your family. If Aunt Linda's like, how's it going? And you said, you know what? Thank you for caring about me, but I'm not going to share that with you.
But what do you do in those instances when Aunt Linda, like I said, maybe has not done the work or understanding,
Right.
and you say that, and then she gets more triggered? How do you deal with it then?
Why are you so upset? And look, that's going to make her more upset, but that's not your fault. The problem is like, people kind of look at this as like, well, then why am I sitting there and just like triggering her? This is where you could go like, well, I'm not going to participate in this. And you can actually leave. If it gets that bad, you can leave. But it's more just like, or you could just say like, you know what? I'm just not going to talk about it. And they might chase you down, but that gives you the actual information that you need. But we're like, oh, we got to deal with our families. We got to and this is the people pleaser in me. Okay. I know how to do this. Okay. Every holiday with all of my family, I was trying to make sure that every single person was okay. I was just making it safe for me.
Yeah.
I actually didn't care about them. Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah.
I didn't. But the core was me trying to feel safe. And so now it's like, I don't have to deal with you. I'm either going to choose to engage with you or I'm going to choose to not. Right? It's going to take practice. And you can't, it's like, well, they didn't do their work. And you, like, the trigger's still there. It's like, okay, then now you know. But if you're going into it like, oh, I got to do this. No, you're choosing to do it. And understand that it's a choice. And people are like, you don't get it. I don't have a choice. You always have a choice. You just don't like the choice. And the choice is really hard. That's what's true, right? Mm-hmm. And at the core of it is, I don't want to be hurt and I don't want to hurt my family. And yet we go and then we just hurt ourselves and them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So really to kind of, if I'm understanding kind of your point of view on that, it's like when it comes to managing, all of the stress or, not even stress, managing like the conflicts and tension that could
Yes.
arise when you're there, like I said, if be Aunt Linda and you say, hey, thank you, but I'm not going to talk about it, things like that. I mean, really, it's hard to necessarily give like advice on how to handle that from the standpoint is you can only handle you.
That's it.
And however they choose to respond.
Not your business, really.
Yeah.
But it feels like your business. And this is where
Because you want to, I know for me, if that happens, sometimes I instantly go like, okay, how can I now de-escalate the situation?
Is it your responsibility to de-escalate? Because technically you did. You were like, you know what, Aunt Linda, thanks for asking about me. I'm not going to talk about it though. Or I'm not ready to talk about it. And you can even get more specific. I'm not going to talk about it with you. It's the truth. It's going to make her go off. But when she goes off, realize that a trigger is going to go off in you. Right? And If she's being disrespectful, then leave.
Yeah.
And it's like, why should I have to leave? Well, what are your options?
Because I said, I think the leaving thing's a big piece, because I think a lot of times when, they go the disrespectful route, we'll say, you were kind of told to keep our cool.
Yes.
And, don't go flipping tables, don't go lighting tablecloths on fire, as some people I've heard do.
I may have had to do that once.
Yeah, maybe. So I
I'll
mean,
tell the story later. Stay tuned.
so like I said, I think that is a kind of a key thing, that it's really just, well, leave. Don't keep your, keep your cool, yes, but it's like remove, like.
Well, can you keep your cool is the question.
Yeah.
And the thing is like, that's what I mean. When you're learning how to set boundaries, it's really hard. Like the smallest boundary, you'll feel it in your body. It's the worst. You think you're going to die almost. It's like, oh. And then when they don't respond in the way that meets the effort, that's when we really get mad.
When they don't respond to your boundaries, you end up getting divorced.
And sometimes that happens. But the point is, like, if you're asking me what it is that people can learn how to do, that's what it is, but it's learning how to do it. And look, you're going to be bad at it at first. And remember, however big the emotional baggage is, and by baggage, I mean history, with a person, the harder it is to sort these things. Because like, no, I remember when you do this, and they pull out your greatest hits of mistakes.
It's a great volume.
And look, this is so nuanced. And so I'm just going to trust that people can hear around this. Everything is for you. I am in no way saying that anyone should be abusive to you, disrespectful, any of it. But what I'm saying is, like, remember, it's coming out from within you. The trigger is the gift. So what can you learn from your family? What am I still identified with? So like the politics is a great example, because if I know I'm right, which everyone does, right? Then there should be no trigger, because truth needs no defense. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Or it's like, I'm so good in this. Does that work for you? All right, bless. You know what I mean? But we don't function that way, because then we're like, no, you're doing harm. I'm not doing harm. I'm the one that's right. You're the one that's wrong. And that's actually the bigger picture of this. And so the survival techniques in the holidays is, we're going to release this a little bit before the holidays, right? Mm-hmm. So if this is you and you're like already nervous about the holidays, hi, I'm already nervous about the holidays. Okay. I'm going to do that. What am I nervous about? What is the anger that I haven't spoken? And I'm going to get that out on paper. I'm going to burn that shit before I go into it. And then I'm going to give myself permission to consistently gauge where I am, right? Because I'm like, yes, I will come to Thanksgiving. You know what I'm actually going to say? With any Thanksgiving invite that comes my way, right? I'm going to go, thank you so much for inviting me. If I mean that, and I mean that. When is the last time I can let you know? Because obviously we're planning for a lot of food. But I don't know yet. I need to do that. I didn't think I could do that before, because the invitation's so lovely. How could I ever say no? And instead it's like, what do I actually need? I need some flexibility. So what's the last date you need to know? I'm not sure yet, but I will let you know by this date. Because I need to get closer up to it to see how I'm actually feeling.
Yeah.
And then it's my responsibility of like, what's going on in my system? Can I behave in alignment with my integrity? If no, that's my responsibility.
So really that piece, I think, is it's self-care.
Absolutely.
And I mean,
and it's radical responsibility though. And that's the part, like the accountability part is huge.
And it seems to me that it is all kind of tied up with a little bit of everything we said about like the family and all these different aspects. But like, I guess we as people struggle taking care of ourselves, I think, in general.
We don't know how to be human, no.
But it's a lot easier when it's not the holidays. Why is it so much harder for us to...
Because there's no expectation. There's no nostalgia. There's no, like, at the
traditions
holidays...
and things like that.
The holidays, we got spoon-fed this forever. If you're living right, then the holidays are beautiful. Yeah. If you're not, then you are fucking this up and it is all your fault. When really what holidays do, weddings do, funerals do, they just put this huge spotlight on everything that's not okay, which could be a gift. If families could go, oh, this has not been resolved, and actually choose into the resolution together, can you imagine? It would be beautiful. Honestly, it would be so beautiful, right? And then, like I said, think about like, you're not a mom. You're a man.
I'm not, yes.
The things I used to do for my children for Christmas were For me, for my needs, utterly ridiculous. Okay? From the, and I am not judging this, I am simply speaking from who I
Your
actually
truth.
am. It was everything from Elf on the Shelf, every decoration, to the point where like my wrapping paper all like matched but was different and had themes. Once again, not shitting on this. That was too much for me.
Like I said, if that's what you need for you,
that,
then go for it.
And that gives you joy.
Then go
oh
for
my gosh.
it.
What I'm saying was it actually didn't.
Yeah.
Right?
You're doing it for the wrong reason.
Right. But the point is like, we are like, this has to be amazing for them. And we completely deplete ourselves to the point where like every Christmas morning, I was so gone that like I couldn't really enjoy it. And then it's like, I know so many mothers do this. And this is actually, and I'll just throw this out there and we'd love some comments about it. It's like, have you noticed that you did it for joy? Because like, I actually do want to create magic for my children.
Yeah.
And I love decorations. I love beautiful things, but it was too much at once. And then you're trying to like almost recreate that as an adult. It's like, well, now I have the time because I don't have to stay up all night. It's not like dealing with like all the little kidness of it. And they're like, can I do it right this time? But that's not what it's about. It's like, what I want now is to create these spaces where my children actually want to come home.
Yeah.
Not because I'm perfect, not because of the magic, but because that's where they felt the safest.
Yeah.
That's it. But that's another reason that it is so difficult, right? And so the amount of pressure that's on the holidays is another reason. Because like the rest of the time we're like, it's cool. But I mean, if you have a Sunday dinner with your family, this happens. It's just every Sunday dinner is more like casual, and Christmas is like, but are
Big
you
deal.
like a successful human on every spectrum? Because Christmas is going to show you that you aren't.
Yeah. I mean, so I guess a couple of questions I have kind of with all of that, like as you've learned more of this things for yourself and like what you need to do, what you can't do, things like that, do you have you developed almost like a self-care routine for the holidays?
I have. And I actually, in my Christmas decoration box, every year when I pack it up, I write myself a letter.
Oh. Okay.
And it goes over all the things that I thought went well and all the things that like, it's not that they went wrong. It's like, oh, I was either doing that old thing, and then it's advice for myself for the next Christmas. And at the top of it is,
I like that.
How are you right now? What's going on in your life right now? And I'm like, and I have 4 of them.
Oh,
because I have
gosh.
4 giant Christmas boxes, right? They're huge. It needs to be in every single one. And it's a reminder of like, oh yeah, right? And like, I'm a single mom. So Christmases now need to be extra awesome, right? And this is the first Christmas I will not have my children. And I wrote that last year. Remember, as you're pulling these out, they won't be with you on Christmas Day. That's going to be really hard.
Looks like we're coming over on Christmas
You are.
Day.
And it's like that, even like saying it, I'm like, I know it's going to be hard because it's what, October 17th? So I'm like, don't worry about it. When I start when I start putting those decorations up, it's like that kind, like, what do you need? What kind of self-care do you need? And what permission do you need to give yourself? Because no one's going to give you permission to do what you need.
Yeah.
Now, people take this the wrong way. No, it's what I need. It's like, no, you're being a bitch. Okay? Make sure that you know why you need it and that you can communicate it in a way that isn't snarky. Because when you're putting sharpness on it, you're trying to hurt them because you're like, I'm hurt. How do you not know I'm hurt? And so instead it's like, I'm hurt because when you actually show softness and hurt, it gives them an opportunity to go, are you okay?
Yeah.
But we don't trust that anymore. So we've got to learn how to do it all over again.
Yeah. No, that's great. Like I said, I really like that letter. That's a good one.
It's a good one.
But it's I think something that you hit on that made me think, because like as I'm getting older, I still don't obviously have a family, but you do start thinking about like traditions and things like that. And I love how you kind of were talking about with, I did all this, but then I was like, why am I doing it?
For why?
Am I doing it for me, or is it, not necessarily the right reasons? Because I know there's definitely people out there who are probably going like, there's these old traditions that I'm like, I don't like this tradition, but they almost feel obligated to keep this tradition going.
Oh my gosh.
So that's why I think I really liked you talking about that, because it's going like,
anything that we're doing.
if it feels like a chore, you probably need to take a look at it.
Right? And it's like, why on earth would we do anything just because that's the way we used to do it?
Yeah.
If it works, awesome. And then look, putting up all my Christmas decorations is a chore because I'm a working mother. But it's a chore that I want to do for myself. Does that make sense? But it's the energy behind it. Because before I was putting all that up because it's like, see, I'm a perfect mom. It's coming from fear, scarcity, and shame. Now it's, no, I actually want that. That's going to require a little more effort from me if I want that. Or I could ask for help, right? Like our producer, she knows how to decorate some things.
She does.
Right? And so I could reach out to someone I know and be like, hey, do you have an hour to give to me? And I now have friendships where they could be like, you know what? I don't. And I'd be like, you know what? That's okay. And then I adjust. But what we would normally take that as, first, we can't ask for help because then we wouldn't be the super moms or whatever that you think you're supposed to be. And that's where I was. I was like, I have to do all of this because I have to be this perfect mother. When instead what my children need is for me to be me, their mom. Because guess what they didn't love? Me being stressed the fuck out. And like, why is no one excited for the picture? Did you love that? And that's another reason, like when you're older and you come home, it's like, well, mom's going to be a psychotic person and make us wear these, you know what I mean? Yeah. And you're like, can you just like be with me? And so look, stay tuned. I'm counting on that because like I did way less for my children last Christmas, but I was actually there. You're present. I was actually present. And like to them right now, they're probably like, well, where's my like presents?
Yeah.
Don't worry, they got some. But I also didn't go overboard. My children have enough. Because that's the thing where like, you're trying to make up for like all these faults in your parenthood. And look, as a single mom and a single dad, you're like, I have fucked this up. I've got to like make it up.
Yeah.
No, you don't. Be present with them. Because they will see that as an adult, that they got to be what they want, who they are, and I got to be who I am. And that like, if they're not all going to wear their pajamas, it's like, okay, well, you know what? Y'all are teens now. Do you want to be with me? Awesome. Then I'm not going to worry about the goddamn pajamas. Do I still want it? Of course I do. But so like the chore part of it, this is why it is so difficult to do this work, because it takes so much to learn how to sit in the complexity of it all. Because it's like, yes, you want to watch if it's a chore, but you also want to watch if it's something like the action to support what you actually want. Okay, then I'm going to choose to have this extra energy output and not do the thing where like, well, I have to do this and no one appreciates me. Classic mom shit, right? Mm-hmm. And it's like, nobody asked you.
Yeah.
To like cut out every single holly berry. Right? But she's going, but that means I love you. It's like, does that actually mean that to your child? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like my kids don't give a shit. Okay. But now that we've like, I got divorced, I moved, they're like, you know what I miss? I miss this. And so I put that in the note. Hey, these are the things that they actually missed, not the things that I think make me a good mom. Right? And then I also get to choose that too. Does that make sense? It's always a choice. And you're like, well, how can traditions be made? You know what? I actually don't know anymore. And I worry about that a lot. I don't know what the tradition my kids will take away from my tradition, because we've been in transition for a while, right? Right now, it's just the food. The food has remained consistent. No surprise, right?
No surprise.
No surprise. But like, that's something that really does cause a lot of pain in me. Like, what are they going to remember? What are they going to take on to their kids? Right?
I think that's where it comes to, creating new traditions. But the caveat with when I say that is new traditions that make you feel good.
That you want to do them.
Yeah. Like I said, it's you want to do them, things like that. And then kind of going back to your earlier advice at that point, whatever your kids take is what they take.
And that doesn't need to be a reflection on you.
Exactly.
And so if there are older parents listening, and I hope that there are, do you know the best thing you could give to your children? And actually, if you want to have a relationship with them, is like, hey, do you want to talk to me about the things that you're upset about?
Cool.
Can you imagine? And like my own mother gave me this gift. I finally told her everything that I was angry about. And she responded with, I did that, I'm sorry. She validated my experience. That's all I needed, turns out. I just needed to be heard, and that like my experience as 6 years old with her at Christmas really hurt me.
Yeah. Because
then it gave me the opportunity to go, hey, I know that you were actually trying. Because I'm a mom now, and now I get it. But as a 6-year-old, I was like, why are you like this? This hurts my feeling. I'm not safe, all the things, right? When these adult parents are actually parents and don't take it personally, to the child. Like, go to your partner, go to your therapist and go, my kid didn't care about this. It hurts. But with your kids, like, was that your experience? I love you. I'm sorry.
Game changer.
Game changer. And look, the same goes the other way, because some parents are taking it too far where they let their kids then like go off and be disrespectful. We never allow disrespect on any side. It's like, you can tell me how you feel. You don't get to be disrespectful or rude about it.
Yeah.
But for parents, it's like, hey, I was actually trying to create magic. I thought that was my worth. I'm sorry. I just want to be with you. Can you imagine if your parents were just like, I just want to be with you? And you'd be like, oh, okay. Well, I don't want to be with you all the time. But now I'm going to want to be around you more. Because like for me, my goal is like, any relationship I have, if you feel obligated, GTFO. Like, I have no tolerance for that, because I want to be chosen. And I want my children to choose to be with me. I don't want them to feel obligated, right? They're their own people. And so what can I do to create that? I don't know. And like, look, there's no fail-safe. Yeah. They could give me the middle finger for 2 years. I'm like, you're the worst. The question is, can I hold it?
Yeah. Yeah. It's always the question. So kind of with that, is there any, I don't know, what's a good way of putting it? Like, if you had to say one thing to someone who is feeling just overwhelmed about the holidays coming up, like I said, even if they've set good boundaries and they've done all these things, but they are still just scared, overwhelmed. Then
you haven't set good boundaries with yourself or with others. And that's not a judgment. Because look, the overwhelm is, I have to show up in a certain way. I have to do everything all at once. I have to do all these things. Do you? And if you're like, you know what? It's like the chore thing. Well, I want muscle, so I'm going to go through the pain of lifting weight. I want memories. I want these things. Okay. Then you're choosing it. That's the difference though. Because we feel like we have to. You don't understand. I have to go home. No, you don't. You're saying you don't understand what will happen if I don't. And to me and to my family. Does that make sense? It is always your choice. So if you are feeling overwhelmed, and this is going to sound like victim shaming, it's your choice. And that's where the radical accountability comes in. The most important thing with radical accountability is compassionate radical accountability. It's like, oh, I am doing this. Okay. Not, yeah, you dumb bitch. That's what we do to ourselves, right? We'll see you're the worst. Any way you slice it, it's a lose-lose. Instead of just like, oh, and taking a breath and going, okay, what do I really want? And if you go and you know Aunt Linda's going to be there, know that you fully consciously chose that. It'll hit different. Because when you feel obligated, it's like, well, fuck you. I didn't want to come anyway. How dare you? But when you're like, you know what? I knew exactly what I was choosing. Okay. And then you get to go, and I get to choose to leave. Right? And look, this is way easier said than done. It's all a practice.
Yeah.
But understand, everything is a choice. And people are like, let me give you a long list. Sorry, it is.
I mean, I got to sit on that because
Well, let's get into this a little further. Well, I have to go to work because then I'll be homeless. Mm-hmm. Right, you're choosing to not be homeless. And that seems like a silly thing, except for when you understand that you made the choice, that's actually empowering yourself. You are the creator of your own reality. That's what we've forgotten, okay? And yeah, we live in a system where that's necessary. So we must work so we're not homeless or whatever, food. Okay, so choose it and choose it every day. Get up every day and go, I am choosing this because I deserve to not be homeless. So I'm going to choose to be in a relationship with my family where it's really hard because I want it. Not for them, not to be a good person, because I want it. Mm-hmm. Right? And then as you have these hard things, it's like, okay, well, what choices do I need to make now? It's all a choice. And it's like, well, I have to show up for my kids so that they'll have memories. Okay, you don't have to. And there's plenty of evidence of this, okay? Parents bounce and are terrible parents all the time. So why are you choosing it though? It is harder. It's supposed to be. Choose it for you. Get up and choose your children every day. Get up and choose yourself every day. You don't have to do shit. You can be homeless. People are like, that's ridiculous. It's also true.
Yeah.
Right? Once again, this is the empowerment of self. When you understand that you are not being forced to, do something, all of a sudden you're like, hang on, what else do I have command over? It will change your life. Simple, nowhere near easy.
Yeah, definitely not easy in any aspect. So, I mean, I guess the question would be if everything it's your choice, because a lot of people will go, I guess, how do you find support for yourself? Because in a way it feels like you're saying, well, you don't, like, don't need support.
Is that true?
I think you need support, yeah.
Of course you do. So it's a both and, isn't it? Always. But the choice is yours. It's your choice to say, this is what I want. And then it's your choice to say, I need some support. We have to ask for it. And that's another thing that we really got our wires crossed on, especially as adults. And especially, you can speak from the male perspective, from the female, and especially from a mother, we weren't supposed to ask for help. We were supposed to do it all on our own. That's the only way that we were like the good mother, right? The excellent mother, whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
And instead, all I know is that me being a conscious, present mother means I get to choose to ask for help. And they get to choose to decline. But we're like, oh, if they decline, then I wasn't worthy of it. No, that's not how that works. You're like, okay, I can't ask that person for help. Or in my relationships that I currently have, I'm like, I need to be able to ask you for help. I need you to say no when you don't have the bandwidth. Because that's more than okay with me. If people say no to me that I trust, I'm like, oh, thank goodness, okay. And then they'll show up for me at other times. But I need to be able to say no when my bandwidth has been met. And so the support looks like what? Like when you say like, well, that could sound like you don't need support. What do you mean?
For me, when I think of support, it's, I think of like people, like someone that you can almost lean on when you are
sure
tired.
But like, give me an example. Because if you're like, because we're going off of everything is your choice. Now, what you heard was everything's your responsibility. You're the problem, it's you. Hyper independence. No.
Can't feel feelings.
No. It's that you're responsible for your own feelings and you need to choose to be responsible for your own feelings. If you choose that, then the next logical thing is, do I know how to manage my own feelings? The answer is no for everybody. Okay? We're all learning how to do this. That means you reach out to someone like me. You reach out to a therapist. You get support, right? Or you call a friend. You choose to do that. You have to choose to be in right relationship with each other.
Yeah.
You also can just reach out to your other cousins who are in that same situation.
Also that. Our wonderful producer, reach out and commiserate. And then see if they want to choose with you to do a more elevated approach. If they're not ready and they still want to stay there, great. None of your business.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So this is not about becoming hyper independent. Okay? And this is actually what's happening, right? With the advent of we kind of don't need people with Amazon and with all the things. It's like, oh, I'm doing my work. I'm so zen now and I'm protecting my peace. They're not interacting with anyone. You can be super peaceful.
Yeah.
You need to learn, once you have learned that, if you are zen, and this is why I love the Ram Dass quote, bring it all the way back. You think you're enlightened, go spend a week with your family. See how long you can hold that. It's not a judgment. It's more just it has to be practiced. So we do the internal work. It is our choice and our choice alone. It also needs to be your choice to go out into a relationship and be like, I need to practice these things that I think I have learned. If you think you're got it all handled. I'm stoic. I can do so much better. Okay, well, I bet Aunt Linda can get you to whip a battery in about, 5 minutes, if not 2 hours.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely a lot to unpack there for all of it.
Right? And look, there's a thing going on in the internet right now where it's like, oh, is the news upsetting you with your mental health? Just turn it off. Is this current political scape upsetting you? Don't pay attention to it. Don't vote. Well, that's some horse shit. You need to understand that those things are triggering you. Why are they triggering you? What is it for? It's definitely not to go get in fights. You need to show up to things. That's how we make change. And so in this scenario, it's, I'm protecting my peace. I can't be around you. Now, look, there are many instances where that is true, but you need to be really accountable and go, but am I just avoiding having the hard conversation?
Yeah.
Right? taking the time to work through your issues with your mom and dad, writing it out, burning it, writing it out and burning it, getting it down to very non-violent communication where it's like, when you did this, it hurt me this way, right? Without any needles, without any harm. And then giving them the opportunity to respond. It doesn't mean they're going to respond correctly. It just means you're giving them the opportunity, right?
Yeah.
And so you're still trying to engage as much as you can. And then it's like, oh, we can't, this is as far as we can meet. Okay, right? And then with the politics and all those things, it's like, if you believe it's wrong, you need to meet all the triggers that come up in you, right? Like, I'm ready to burn this down and they're right and I'm wrong. You got to meet that within you so then you can go have a conversation. And like I said, if you are looking to create the peace that you want to see in the world, go sit with somebody whose opinion you just completely disagree with. Actually listen to them and don't share your point of view. Just listen to them human to human, right? And you can start to do this with your family. But like I said, the emotional baggage, you're going to feel the triggers and it almost makes it impossible. Almost. Just become aware, right? The holidays are hard. That's the other thing. It's like you have these expectations of like, this is going to be the greatest Christmas ever. I don't know. Maybe walk it back a couple.
Yeah.
And be like, how can I be present this Christmas? How can I right now go, what are the things that I'm ashamed of this year, right? Like I was going to be fit this summer, whatever it is. And just meet it now. So that when you're at Christmas, you're not like, look at all the things I didn't do. And give yourself some compassion.
Yeah.
Hardest thing to do. It really is.
It really is.
So worth it. This is the kind of hard that gets you where you want to go. And we get to choose our hard.
Yeah, we do. Sometimes I don't know why we chose what hards we chose, but...
Well, you should know why. So figure it out. Why are you doing the things that you do? And if the answer is, well, that's what good people do, I need you to take a good hard look. Because it's not a thing. You need to understand it's like if you're doing this from a place of your own integrity, of your own chosen values, everything will hit different.
Yeah. I love that. I mean, should be able to survive the holidays now.
Hopefully we can start to thrive through them. But yeah, give yourself a survival kit. And I would suggest that it's a thriving one. You want to try to thrive, but you're going to have to learn how to do it. Because if you haven't before, this one's going to be rocky. If you're doing it differently, how could you be good at it? You've never done that before.
Yeah.
Anything worth doing is worth doing poorly. Just go fuck it up. Fuck around and find out. And see how you can minimize harm to yourself and others while you do it.
I love that.
No big deal.
It's a good reminder.
I mean, hit us up on the IG. We'll walk you through it.
We'll help you. We'll help you with your holiday thrival.
Your holiday thrival kit. You know what? We'll write something.
We'll write something for you. But no, that was awesome. Like I said, I think it's a good reminder going into the holiday season. And like I said, curious to hear what you guys think, and I'm more curious to hear people after the holidays to see how they managed.
We'll do a
post-holiday recap.
Yep.
But thanks for stopping by next week, or next time, I should say.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Happy holidays, and don't kill out Aunt Linda.
No, she doesn't know any better.
Yeah, bless her.
She should, but she doesn't, you know?
Yeah. But thanks for coming by. We always appreciate it.